أهلا وسهلا فيكم بحلقة جديدة من بودكاست بزنس الرياضة. غبت عنكم لفترة بسيطة بس رجعت لكم اليوم بحلقة جميلة وقوية جدا مع ضيف مميز عم ببني شركة قوية وكبيرة في عالم الرياضة وخصوصا في عالم الاستثمارات الرياضية. شركة عم بتغير مفهوم الاستثمار في عالم الرياضة وعم تفتح المجال لأي شخص عنده شغف أو عنده طموح أو بده يستثمر مصاريه إنه يستثمر في عالم الرياضة اللي في السابق كانت حكر على الأغنياء وعلى البرايفت اكويتي وعلى الفنشر كابيتال، وما كان في مجال لشخص لحاله إنه يستثمر في أصول رياضية. فتشرفت انه كان معاي هادي الحلبي على بودكاست بزنس الرياضة. هادي هو المؤسس لشركة سترايد، اول بلاتفورم، اول منصة للاستثمار الرياضي. في خلال الحلقة حكينا عن قصة سترايد، كيف هادي دخل على عالم الرياضة وإيش رؤيته لهاي الشركة، وكمان حكينا بشكل عام عن عالم الاستثمارات الرياضية. عم نشوف كثير حكومات وكثير شركات عم تدخل وعم تستثمر في الرياضة كوحدة من الأصول، كيف إحنا متعودين نستثمر في الأسهم أو نشتري عملات. كمان الرياضة هلأ عم تدخل في هذا العالم وعم بيصير في ايرادات عم تيجي وعم بيجي ريتيرنز كمان عاليه جدا من استثمارات الرياضه، فهذا السوق عم بيكبر. ناقشنا كل تفاصيله في هاي الحلقه، بس للتنويه انه الحلقه كانت في اللغه الانجليزيه لانه حسينا انه هاي هي الطريقه الافضل لحتى نوصل المعلومات بطريقه قويه، وكمان انه نستفيد من خبرات هادي اللي في مجال الرياضه. فعشان هيك الحلقه باللغه الانجليزيه، بس اذا بدك انك تحضرها في اللغه العربيه فاذا بتحضرها على اليوتيوب راح يكون في سبتايتلز، راح يكون في ترجمه لكل الحكي على اللي عم نحكيه. بس هلا يلا خلينا ندخل في الحلقه. هادي، اهلا وسهلا فيك ببودكاست بزنس الرياضه. متحمس كثير اليوم للدسكشن تاعنا لنحكي اكثر عن شو شركتك وشو عم تعمل في عالم الرياضه. بس قبل ما ندخل بهاي التفاصيل لو هيك تعطينا مقدمه سريعه عنك وعن كيف وصلت لانك تدخل في عالم الرياضه.
Thanks, Sharif. شكرا كتير. يعني it's a good opportunity for me to be able to do this podcast with you. I'm excited for it. A bit of background about myself. I'm based in Dubai at the moment. I come from an investment banking background. I was working in mergers and acquisitions and capital raises for a few years before spotting an opportunity in private markets and deciding to take this jump or leap of faith to entrepreneurship and basically ابني شركة and to build a business in the sports space. So I was born and raised in Beirut, moved to London to do my master's, then moved back to Dubai. Now I'm the founder and CEO of Stryde, which is a sports investment platform.
حلو كمان اكيد the background in finance and what you did before اكيد it helped you get into that world of investment. فخلينا نحكي اكثر هلا عن سترايد. ايش هي شركة سترايد؟ وين بلشت؟ ايش الفيجن اللي لما انت بلشت سترايد كانت عندك؟ انا قرأت كثير عن الشركة وقرأت عن انه your idea is to make investments more accessible to people. بس احكي لي اكثر from your perspective، يعني كيف وصلت لهاي الفكرة او ليش قررت انك تبلش فيها في السبورتس وهاي الايديا اوف انفستمنتس؟
لك بكل صراحة نحن لما بلشنا البزنس ما كان خاصة بالسبورتس. It was not a sports business and the plan was not to be a sports business. شفنا inefficiency أو شفنا big gap in private markets investing in generally. إذا أنا وشريف و everyone who might be listening to this episode كان بدهم يعملوا investments بالventure capital أو private equity space، أنت بتعرف يعني it's not that simple. It's something that's very restricted. It's not simple. It's not accessible. It's expensive. بالعادة إذا بتعمل investment بالستارت اب أو private company and you need to have a certain amount of capital and a certain amount of status كمان لأنه usually this is locked for high net worth individuals and funds. So initially كانت الفكرة إنه نبني مثل digital platform that kind of digitizes this whole process, simplifies it and makes it more accessible. حتى أنا وأنت or anyone else be able to come in and invest on the platform and access those deals. So basically the pain point لنا كانت access of private market deals. لذلك قررنا to build Stryde. And then وقت قررنا نبني Stryde اكتشفنا إنه for you to be able to offer an investment product you have to be regulated, which you know. And to be regulated, we had to go through basically the regulatory process in Dubai. مع السلطات بدبي، السلطات المالية بدبي. and هاي الابلكيشن كانت فترة 18 شهر and this is a long story very short، بس على فترة سنة ونص تقريبا back and forth on how to get the license and how to get the right framework, and we managed to within those 18 months get regulated and become the first regulated private markets platform in the Middle East. هلا بهاي السنة ونص كنا عم نعمل testing to different types of products from venture capital to more mature companies to different industries. one thing we came across كان السبورتس، واللي هن بلشت معنا نحن بنادي واتفورد بإنجلند، نادي الفوتبول. وقتها حطينا واتفورد، وقتها we came across واتفورد كان في level of engagement و awareness that came on Stryde that was incredible. So this was basically مثل an eye opener. I was with like the switch that convinced us that sports is a space to play. So I started digging deeper, being a sports fan myself. يعني أنا الرياضة على شكل حيلا رياضة. I watch, I support, I play, I like sports in general. بس البزنس ما كانت business of sports. When we came across Watford, I started digging deeper and looking more into sports, and I realized في كتير عم بيصير بالsports investment space هلا. From private equity firms to venture capital firms to capital flowing in from all sorts of investors into this asset class because it's becoming more appealing. It's not just today. يعني أنا وأنت وقت بنحضر sports we think of it as entertainment. لأن الجيم that we're watching أو sports that we're supporting is entertainment. You don't ما بنطلع عليها بمجال البزنس. فهيدا تغير لإلي، بس صرت عم بتطلع أنا أكتر من lens of business opportunity and financial returns. And I realized بكل شيء بتشوفه هلا اليوم from NBA performance to Formula 1 performance to Premier League valuation growth to emerging sports، حتى الرياضات الجديدة اللي عم تشوفها اليوم البادل والبيكل بول وحتى الجروث of cricket obviously في كتير عم بيصير. فبكل هالvolume and movement we realized this is يعني multi-billion-dollar space and ولا حدا بالعالم عنده هالبلاتفورم أو هالمنصة that basically makes it accessible. So based on all of the data and the points that we touched upon, we decided to fully pivot the platform ويصير platform بس للرياضة and focused on getting the best sports deals globally for investors from anywhere in the world to go on the platform and invest in those deals. So اليوم نحن اليوم معقول يكون عندنا Formula 1 team أو Premier League team أو an NBA team أو paddle business، بفوت هادي، بفوت شريف، بفوت anyone else on the platform. They sign up, they register, and they can browse the investment memorandums. يعني أنت اليوم you're acting as if you're a fund, and the minimum investment can be $5,000 $10,000 could be 100, could be a million, could be whatever it is. The platform is built for individuals and for institutions. لو كنت أنت مستثمر فرد أو لو كنت أنت a fund, it's the same thing. You can come in and invest. And basically aside from accessing those deals، يعني اليوم البين بوينت هي انك انت تقدر تشوف هول الديلز and تقدر تستثمر بهول الديلز. بس the other pain point is liquidity. انه انت اليوم how do you sell, how do you make money. فنحن we're also regulated to allow you to liquidate and sell your shares on our platform. So السولوشن تبعنا كان اوكي كل شيء عم نشوفه وكل شيء عم ينعمل traditionally or more manually, let's digitize it. Let's create one platform that consolidates sports investments. خلينا نجيب هول التوب deals and to get people who are interested in becoming sports investors to use the platform.
حلو. لا interesting story. كمان أحلى شيء بالنسبة لي إنه أنتوا you didn't start as a sports investment platform، بلشتوا as a just a platform that makes investments accessible to people، وبعدين صفيتوا you pivoted into sports. فأظن أنت you touched شوي on that part of it. بس what makes sports attractive for people أو what made sports attractive to you as well to pivot your platform into the sports industry؟
لهون بهذا السؤال there is an important distinction that has to be made بين أنت اليوم بدك تستثمر لأنه you want a good return ولا بدك تستثمر لأنه you're a fan and you're passionate about an investment. نحن the way we look at it is إنه الاستثمار هو for a good return مش to be a fan. هلا it's a by product إنه أنت يمكن اليوم تستثمر ب an NBA team أو Formula 1 team that you like بس it's not the core value. فكيف وصلنا لهالconclusion إنه asset classes that we're looking at and the type of assets that we're looking at have good ROI potential is that you look at the data over the past 5 years, you'll realize NBA, NFL, MLB baseball, NHL which is hockey, IPL valuations اللي هو Indian Premier League of Cricket, Formula 1 valuations, even the new sports, the emerging sports, paddle and pickleball and all that. إذا بتشوف the growth in valuation, it's beating S&P 500. It's obviously beating real estate. It's beating gold. It's beating all the asset classes out there. Because اليوم صرنا بنطلع على الرياضة as an investable asset class and as a business opportunity, مش بس as entertainment. من قبل كان يجي حيلا حدا who wants to buy a football club and has a lot of money. تستثمر بالنادي. You burn cash every year. You spend a lot of money and you don't really care is النادي profitable ولا لا. تغيرت هاي الموديل. اليوم الموديل is much more sustainable. It's much more financially savvy. And this switch in how we're looking at sports is a few years old. بس يعني نحن من سنتين ثلاثة ما كنا نشوفها the way we're seeing it today. This kind of gave us the conviction إنه the opportunity lies within sports investments and that there is actually good ROI potential or even better ROI potential in sports than other asset classes.
يا 100%. وكمان عم نشوف مثلا هلا الجوفرمنتس كثير عم تدخل. شفنا US investors are getting into sports as well. It's becoming an attractive asset for investors كمان to get into it. فأكيد it's a good market to be in, and I think long term كمان there is a huge potential for growth. It's not بس هلا إنه people are interested in sports, but it's just starting, and I think long term there will be a lot more interest as well in that sector.
100%. And the switch for us يعني نحن as just people who are looking at the space is وقت تشوف the funds coming in وقت تشوف the professional money coming in into an asset class. They're not doing it because they just want to buy an asset. It's not a trophy asset. اليوم funds manage hundreds of people's money. They have a duty to return the money with a certain return profile. فاليوم وقت تشوف all the funds coming in and showing interest in this asset class, you know there's something happening in the space that's attracting this capital. American funds, American investors, European funds, European investors coming in on those asset classes. They realize there is a big shift and it's actually something that can be attractive from a return perspective.
وصار خطر على بالي كمان سؤال هلا when you were talking about it in terms of investments, how مثلا Stryde as a sports entertainment investment platform, how does it compete مثلا with normal investment platforms? انت عندك انا as an investor, I have let's say $1,000. How are you competing to مثلا to get me to invest on Stryde in a sports asset compared مثلا احط مصاري بين S&P 500 او like normal stocks? I think أكيد you've thought about that, and I think you have something different that appeals to people more than like normal stocks. بس أكيد التراديشن معروف إن الناس اللي بده يحط مصاري بده بيستثمر بال S&P 500 أو whatever stocks are there.
هلا أول شيء this is a great question. It's the distinction is very important. Few points. One is education is very important. نحن اليوم بدنا نثقف وبدنا نوعي users on okay, what did sports do? What did sports performance do? If you look at sports versus S&P 500, شو كانوا returns? إذا أنت you can scientifically back this asset class performed more. يعني هاي $1,000 اللي معك أنت حطيتها بال S&P 500 عملت لك 12% last year. يمكن كانت تعمل لك 25% in sports. What you show and you educate people, there is certain opportunities within sports that can beat the S&P 500 and that can beat the market. Then you have obviously this model of why is it better than S&P 500. The other argument is, as an investor, is that you have $1,000 and only $1,000 to invest. You shouldn't put it in one place anyway. That $1,000 should be broken down. And let's take a bigger example. If you have $1 million, $1 million should not go into one investment, not just the S&P 500. And a simple finance just explains the importance of diversification. You put some in equity markets and S&P 500 and stocks. You put some potentially in real estate. You put some in bonds, which is safer, lower return profile. And you should put some in private markets because the return profile of private markets is a bit different. And it's not correlated. And sports specifically is not correlated. So if you have this allocation for private markets, there is a huge argument on why you have to have an allocation for sports too. It's an uncorrelated asset class. It's been beating the market, whether private or public markets, and it's proven it's resilient. And at the end of the day, Sharif, you and I know, is there anything in the world that can target 8 billion people? Until اليوم through sports, you can reach 8 billion people. From Australia to Alaska, literally anyone watches sports in its variety, whether it's ice hockey or whether it's Aussie rules or whether it's cricket or whether it's football or basketball or tennis. Everyone watches sports somewhere around the world. So it's an asset class that can basically reach 8 billion people.
Yeah, 100%. I agree 100% to, and it's a nice and exciting asset كمان, something new compared to what we're used to. فمثلا أكيد أنا as an investor كمان ممكن I would like to go into something that's new, that has potential rather than something that has been there for 60, 70, 80 years. وخلص يعني الناس بتعرف what the average return is per year, بس هيك إذا أنت you want something a bit more exciting كمان, I think sports is a good place to go. وبس آخر شيء in terms of that topic كمان, are you seeing a shift in like consumer or يعني investor appetite for going for like more sports things compared to like the normal, or people are still scared to invest in sports, let's say?
Again, another great question for multiple reasons. One is نحن اليوم when we dig into sports and لأنه صار لي a few months إذا بدك بمجال sports and we're spending time, we're seeing the volume of people in sports. إذا you zoom out a bit وبتطلع على الماسses أو بتطلع على how everyone's behavior is, it's still extremely early. It's still extremely early where people don't know that you can invest in sports, don't know what the return profile of sports is. People just think, okay, شفنا هيدا الowner اشترى هيدا النادي and they burn cash every day, and we hear stories about football clubs going bankrupt, and that's their basically, some people have this image in their head, وخلص, that's sports. Sports is much more than that. But to your point, adoption is still extremely early. We're very early. We're seeing capital in sports, we're seeing interest, but it's like .com bubble in 2000.
Yeah.
Sports is really very, very, very early.
And where do you see it going, let's say in the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years, يعني هيك over the next, امتى بتشوف انه it will actually, adoption will increase, so we will get to a point where it's competing with like the normal
over the next
assets.
5 years, people will realize that there is a viable asset class, that there is an asset class that's generating outsized returns, and it's an asset class that's now accessible. So over the next 5 years, I expect adoption to be more so than less so.
Yeah, let's keep an eye on it. وأكيد يعني when adoption increases كمان أكيد Stryde will benefit from the influx of investors who will want to invest كل ما بيزيد awareness على موضوع investing in sports as an asset. هلا نروح لبوينت تانية that I wanted to discuss كمان, اللي هي fan engagement, تفاعل الناس والجماهير. بنعرف في كتير تغيير هلا عم بيصير in terms of how people are engaging with sports. صار عنا generation جديد, they're not really interested, or they're less interested in مثلا a football game that's 90 minutes. They want something more, they want to be involved in something bigger. بدهم مثلا in terms of content, بدهم يشوفوا أشياء behind the scenes شو عم بيصير. They want to feel that they have a say, or they're doing something for the club that they support other than just watching. So how does this change align with Stride's vision, or are you, like when building Stryde, did you have that point in mind as well in terms of how fans are engaging with sports?
This point is exactly where the opportunity is. لأنه if you look over the past 5 years, الانوفيشن بالسبورتس عم بيزيد. انت ما كنا نسمع عن نيو سبورتس every day. انت اليوم لحتى تتاكل هاي البوينت انه ما كل الجنريشن, the new generation wants to watch 90 دقيقة football. You've got Baller League and Kings League, right, which are creating more entertainment football than competitive football. This is innovation in sports, and these are also viable businesses that present venture capital opportunities. And you're seeing the Baller League raise a lot of money from VC firms. Kings League, which is founded by PK, raised good money, and most recently from PIF. So you're seeing the growth of emerging sports. And like traditional sports are going to grow in their own way. The broadcasting rights, the growth with the sponsorships and everything that's going on, and that's never going to lose its appeal. Hopefully, we're never going to get to a stage where a 90-minute football game is not watched by anyone. But you're getting to a stage where we have diverse consumers. Some people are more attracted to esports, which is why you now see competitive esports, right? When did we see esports being proper tournaments with audiences and people just watching and streaming these tournaments? We've never seen that. You're seeing more innovation, where you have shorter format, more engaging, more entertainment sports, where it's mostly built around streamers and YouTubers and content creators and influencers, because today we live in a creator economy. So I think this innovation in sports is where the opportunity lies, and it means that you have a diverse pool of investment opportunities. established leagues and teams and established sports, but then also everything that's emerging, which presents more of a venture capital profile.
Yeah, 100%. يعني especially the Kings League, Bowlers League in football. I'm sure قديش they're making like a lot of progress. والناس عم بتصير very interested in it. They're like filling out big stadiums of like football teams بالevents تاعونهم. فصراحة it's an interesting كمان field of football أو field of sports كمان إنه how entertainment and sports are being combined. وأكيد long term high from an investment perspective as well, or investment opportunities. There will be a lot more opportunities in that field for people to invest in, to have that combination. أكيد أنت أصلا your platform is both like sports and entertainment, right? Like in terms of opportunities.
صح.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Just something else as well I wanted to touch upon هي Middle East, since you are based out of Dubai وعم تشوف a lot of development happening in sports in the Middle East. How do you see the sports market هناك just in general? But then we can talk in details in terms of investments, so Stride's role هناك.
I think the Middle East is a very interesting part of the world with regards to sports. Actually, you're seeing all the big movements of players and influx of players there, and kind of growing the leagues, especially in Saudi, as a competitive league, and as a league that can attract stars and can compete hopefully in the Club World Cup. They do well too. But also, I think there is innovation coming out of the Middle East. Stryde is a Middle Eastern-born company, and the plan is to go global. And today we are a global business, but we are a Middle Eastern-born company. I'm seeing a lot of innovation in terms of Middle East-specific leagues and tournaments and sports, where if you look at everything that's being done outside, your consumer is different in the Middle East. The way we react, the way we interact is completely different. So you also need local products, and we're seeing more of that. In terms of tech, you're seeing the rise and the birth of new accelerators, and even to a certain extent new sports VCs. So the whole sports ecosystem is growing. PIF, through their sports arm Surge, have done a really good job getting global businesses to basically have a local product and bring in more and more innovation and sports awareness into the region. But I think we as Middle Easterns, we love our sports. I mean, football is big all over the Middle East, and I think there is a big target audience. If you find the right product, the right structure to introduce and roll out different things in the region, there is a big opportunity beyond just the established sports of the football teams that you're seeing. For example, in Dubai Basketball Club is the new basketball club in Dubai. It's 1 year old, بس إذا بتروح على الكوكا-كولا arena, they're filling it up. They're doing a great job. It's a great team. Hopefully they get to play in Europe too soon. But this is also new, right? So the Middle East represents opportunity at the established sports and at the emerging sports level. So it's a very exciting part of the world.
Yeah, 100%. From a Stride perspective, what opportunities do you see in terms of like investment opportunities, let's say, to have on your platform in Middle Eastern startups or Middle Eastern teams or any sports that are growing in the Middle East?
There is a Dubai-based football club within the next 3 weeks that's going to be live on Stryde. فبالعكس نحن we don't prioritize global opportunities. طبعا بالsports it's more global than regional. بس اليوم we've got a very exciting football club out of Dubai that will be listed on Stryde. لحتى كل investor base تبعنا from individuals to institutions يشوفوا الديل and to be able to participate in that deal.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think I've been through a lot of football clubs, less focused. Football is the biggest in the Middle East, but I've been through a lot of new football clubs that have been created in Saudi, in Dubai. I think هدول they present an interesting opportunity كمان لإلي مثلا as an investor to put in, let's say, $1,000 on Stryde on those football clubs, let's say. I know they have a huge potential. They have like those visions and أنا بدي أوصل للtop league, بدي to build my fan base, building a fan base with someone who invests as well in the club. I think بيكون يصير عنده أكتر هيك the loyalty أو the attraction to the club. I think there is a huge opportunity potential. Like if you tapped into that, or if you are tapping into that, do you see potential بهذا المارket?
Definitely. We're speaking to a few. We're onboarding. The deal I mentioned is actually one of those new innovative clubs that you've seen. So we're in the market for those teams, and we're in the market for those opportunities, and we're looking at the majority of them.
Hello. Yeah, exciting. I'll be hopefully one of the first to invest in one of those, and it's an exciting opportunity. طب هلا نحكي on the future of Stride. Let's say, where do you see Stride going in the next 5 years? Or what's your like vision and objectives for the next 5 years?
We want to grow into the leading global investment platform. نحن اليوم إذا بتطلع and you look into the market, there is not a single regulated investment platform in the world that's focused on sports. فاليوم الopportunity إنه نحن the first mover advantage globally. And the plan is to scale our product and to take it global. Stride should be a business that's available for investors and deals in the US, in the UK, in Europe, in Asia, and Australia, all over the world. And within the next 5 years, we want to be the go-to place for every single dollar that wants to invest in sports. Even if you go through a traditional fund today, what you're missing is liquidity. اليوم على Stride تجي أنت as شريف تحط $10,000 أو $20,000, you have the chance to liquidate that in a year or 2 years or 3 years. ما انك مضطر تنطر 5 سنين أو 7 سنين. This does not exist. This is part of the innovative product that we're building. But the plan is to be able to attract every single dollar that wants to go into sports, and to be able to get Stride to own shares in all of those top sports assets. And over the next few years, prove that we've got the best returns in the market too.
Hopefully you'll be able to achieve كل هاي الأشياء. In terms of, let's say, challenges that you foresee ممكن in the next few years, like what are some challenges you've faced قبل, وكمان إيش challenges that you foresee in the future for Stride, and how you can overcome هدول الأشياء. ممكن like regulatory perspective, I think you've already overcome that, بس ممكن في كمان more hurdles in the way, وكمان I think maybe customers, or how to change the viewpoint of customers towards sport might be something else as well, but would love to hear from you.
Yeah, I mean, there's two types of challenges. One is the internal early stage startup challenge, which is, building the right team, building the right product, getting the right capital, growing the business, and everything that's more internal that every startup will face. And then we have the more sports specific challenges that we're facing, which is today asking for or offering an investment product is not straightforward. For Sharif or Hadi or anyone to come and invest in a platform and يشوف deal and be convinced who to invest 5,000 or he to invest 10,000 or anyone to come in and invest a certain amount of money, there's a big level of trust and there's a big level of confidence that you need to have. It's your capital is valuable and everyone's capital is valuable. So building that trust, building that credibility, and building that adoption. The trust and credibility are for Stride as a business, and it's also for sports as an asset class. فأنت basically you're not offering, we're not a stock trading app. مش إنه منصة تداول for stocks that are publicly traded. So اليوم إذا حدا فايت you to buy a Facebook stock or a Tesla stock, you know what you're getting yourself into, and the platform is just a place to do that. نحن اليوم we are a platform to do an investment, but also to do an investment in something you didn't know exists. فعندنا two levels. One is getting the trust and credibility of the platform out there. The second one is getting the trust and credibility into the sports world.
Yeah, interesting. يعني I think by time كمان لما يشوفوا في returns عم بتصير عم بيكون في more opportunities, أكيد people will be convinced more to get into it. Just one more thing before we go into the last part of the episode, but in terms of sports entrepreneurship in general in the Middle East mainly, عشان أنا from the Middle East, so I think most of the people who listen are from the region. Like, just how do you see the overall landscape of entrepreneurship in sports specifically? Do you see a lot of opportunities in the future? يعني بس هيك just a general idea from your perspective as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, مثل ما حكينا من قبل, the rise and birth of sports accelerators, sports funds, Qatar, Saudi, UAE, Bahrain even, Kuwait, they're all looking at sports, owning sports, managing sports investments. There is a big understanding of the business of sports in the Middle East by those big investors, and now it's kind of trickling down. بدنا نشوف innovation, بدنا نشوف more entrepreneurs, بدنا نشوف more funding, and there is capital, there is appetite, and there is openness to it. So I think actually it's a really good time to be building something in sports out of the Middle East.
Yeah, sounds interesting. أكيد we will see a lot of startups that come out of the Middle East in the next few years in sports, and أكيد there's a lot of support, as you said, a lot of funds, accelerators who are supporting entrepreneurs. أكيد eventually راح يصير في كتير startups. Hopefully Stryde will be كمان one of the top ones. وهلا the last part of the episode هيك بس بدي أسألك كم من سؤال just quick answers from you, يعني ما they're just chill questions. فأول سؤال بدي أسأله هو what's your favorite sport?
Football.
Who's your favorite team?
Man United.
اوكي I'm sorry يعني ما كنت اعرف انه مان يونايتد بس انا I support ريال مدريد فانا I'm good يعني حتى in bad seasons
You always have a good time.
Yeah, exactly. I think compared to a Manchester United fan يعني شوي الوضع صعب بس hopefully they come back. One thing in terms of sports in general, like what sport presents the biggest potential or opportunity in the future from your perspective?
3 years ago, it was Formula One, in my opinion, and they did really well. And I'll answer your question through established sports and emerging sports. Established sports, I would say cricket. Cricket has a huge global audience. There is a lot of new leagues and types of teams and sports and innovation happening within the cricket ecosystem. So I think cricket. You know, you can never go wrong with American-based sports. Over the past 10 years, 20 years, they've steadily increased in valuation, whether that's NBA, NFL, MLB, or NHL. But that's in terms of established sports. I think in emerging sports, even though it's kind of an established sports, but women's sports, if you look at women NBA teams, they're basically kind of venture capital play. You're seeing a lot of early stage investment and quick growth and valuation. So women's sports, even women football, is now attracting more and more interest. And then in emerging sports, it's tough to choose one, because if you look at paddle was not a global sport 3 years ago. Now it's probably the fastest growing sport in the world. If you look at what Baller and Kings League did, it's still football, but it's a different type of football. So there's kind of the innovation of entertainment within a sport. So it's tough to choose, but I think women's sports is something to keep an eye on, and all of those emerging sports and new leagues that are coming out are interesting. Not all of them will make it. Some of them will end up obviously not working out, but the ones that will, they'll provide a decent venture capital return, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, if you had capital now to, let's say, since football is your favorite sport, if you had capital now to invest or to buy a football club, I mean, other than Man United, since you support Man United, but what football club globally do you think has the biggest potential and you would want to actually buy that club and invest in it?
Do you want me to choose a club, or do you want me to explain the idea to you?
Yeah, because I mean, both. We can do both.
So, I think the opportunity is in lower league English football, going into a 4th division or 5th division team. From what I've seen is في كتير football teams منن properly managed. إذا تجي اليوم أنت you add this tech enablement, AI enablement, fan engagement, digitization into a club, مثل ما Tony Bloom did with Brighton and what happened with Brentford, حتى Bournemouth a bit, وهالسنة عملوا كتير منيح. These teams brought tech and efficiency and digitization into the club, and they did really well. So what I would do is I'd love to buy a National League or a League 2 English club and properly build that ecosystem and efficiently manage the club to go up the ranks, because in Championship and Premier League there's good valuation returns. There's really good valuation returns and growth.
Yeah, and there's a lot of movement also in that world. Like every few weeks we see someone who invested or bought a club in the lower divisions. It's an interesting
Ryan Reynolds type of business, but you need to have the Ryan Reynolds platform to be able to do what he did. But actually, one of the deals live on Stryde is this specific type of deal I just mentioned. A club called Truro City. It's out of Cornwall. Cornwall is obviously a beautiful piece of land in England.
Yeah,
and the club. You can check out the details on the website, but it's an incredible club. It's one of my favorites, and hopefully we get to do something with them. But these types of deals is what I would do if I had the capital and the time to do that now.
Yeah, hello. Oh, another question in terms of advice that you would give, like a short piece of advice as an entrepreneur, you would give an aspiring entrepreneur in the sports world.
Do you want the advice to be sports specific or entrepreneurship specific?
I think both, combined together. I think sports entrepreneurship specifically.
I mean, generally speaking, whether it's sports or non-sports, you need to have an incredible level of conviction, and you need to have an incredible level of resilience, because entrepreneurship is tough. Having an idea and pursuing it and turning it into a successful business is incredibly difficult, and it's why 0.1% probably of the people succeed at doing that. So an incredible level of resilience, an incredible level of conviction and self-belief will help you a lot. And then in terms of sports, I think it's a great time, but there's a lot happening in terms of sports innovation globally. So make sure to find a way to set yourself apart, because everyone is starting to open their eyes into innovation in sports. And you need to be careful if you're operating in a space where there's 5 or 10 other businesses doing the exact same thing, to find your niche and find your space. And our space of sports investments, we haven't seen anyone specialize in it. I'm aware of a few trying to do that, and I know over the next few years we will have a certain level of competition. But that's something we're aware of. But if you are starting off, make sure that you find your niche and find your unique selling point in sports.
That's great advice. Thank you. And the last question, if you want to describe Stryde in a word or in a sentence, how would you describe it?
The first global sports investment platform enabling everyone to access top sports deals.
Perfect. Thank you, Hadi. It was a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Pleasure was mine.